Hello, fellow pilgrims. How are you? My name is Makgati Mukwena, Pilgrim in Heels, and I am here to record my reflections on my second journey in the darkness. If you don't know, I did a darkness retreat over my birthday week, early in March for 6 nights, from the 3rd of March to the 9th of March, something like that. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, yes, 6 nights. Arithmetic. And when I finished that journey, I knew that it wasn't complete. And in fact, I've recorded my reflections on that with Thato Zanele, who will be joining me shortly, to have a conversation around what happened for me on my second journey in the darkness. And I did that just last week, just for 3 nights. So all in all, 9 nights in just over a month or so. Tato is here in the waiting room, and I'm about to admit her. And let us see. And hey, Tato, you flashed and then you disappeared. Oh, there you are. There you are. Oh, there you are. Is technology doing things to you?
It is, as always. As always. What else?
Yeah. Well, it's good to see you. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Hello, my friend. Good
Yeah.
to be. Yeah.
It's and just to let you know, Tato, that I mean, of course, I appreciate our conversations together. Um, but I also wanted to pass on the message that there are many people who also express their gratitude, and the acknowledgement of how you hold space. And so I wanted to pass that on to you to yeah, as gratitude, and as honoring of the gift that you bring into our conversations.
Thank you. Thank you. It's funny because I was just reflecting on my role and, just opening myself up to spirit to guide me, to guide us, and it feels like such a sacred and beautiful thing. And so I am deeply humbled and so deeply grateful and honored, just for your generosity of spirit and the space that you hold that invites me and within the larger context, all of us, to bear witness to the unfolding of life, of spirit, of humanness, humaning, and to have you at the center of it is, yeah, just deeply humbling again. So thank you.
Mm, it's such a pleasure.
Mm.
And we are going to jump right into it. And a bit of a trigger warning. It isn't easy. It's not, it's not happy. It's not necessarily happy material that I will be sharing, but it reflects my journey. It reflects my life. And in that way, what I bring to it is utter vulnerability and honesty of what is happening for me along this journey.
Mm. And
Mm.
having said that, though, is there a way that you would like us to hold that knowing, hold you in this?
Mm. Mm. I've appreciated how you've showed up in the past, for the past conversations, and I imagine it's pretty much the same, in a similar manner. And also, I think, um, I'm really grateful that you have opened yourself up to be led by spirit. So I'm trusting that the way you will show up really is, by design, by divine design, and in that manner
Mm.
is its own gift. So I welcome your way. I welcome
Mm.
divine's way. divinity's way. And I've got my notes. Thank heavens I
Beautiful.
have this thing. Listen, if you ever, and I'm going to encourage, but this is an invaluable tool. Yeah, because I'm imagining that at some point I will be transcribing this properly and finally penning that book that has been circling. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. Let's focus on my 3 nights. So as you know, I was up in Johannesburg at Darkness Retreats Africa in 4 ways. And I went in on Monday, the 8th, the day of the great eclipse. And I came out on Thursday morning, the 11th. And there was a certain unreadiness that I took with me, that I stepped into the darkness with. I think that I was a little bit blasé because I'd been there before. So I felt like, I know this, I'm going to go in there and then whatever. So when I switched off the lights at 6:30 p.m., I absolutely was in a sense of, oh my gosh, I'm not ready. Oh, maybe I should have prepared better, but I don't even know what that meant. And I realized very quickly that I needed to be in that state in order to facilitate a disarming of sorts, a disarmoring of sorts, so that I really could be penetrated by everything that arrived through the time there. And so I wrote here that I'm showing up as I am. And a small prayer that I said was, beloved eternal source God, I come here before you, requesting permission to get closer to you, perchance to be allowed to know you. I come here now in all my being. Amen. And that was me arriving in that state. Also because I had known that when I was going back, that my first journey, somehow it wasn't complete. If you remember when I left with visions of me being in that cave, in that prison that I couldn't exit. And so going back felt necessary to go and fetch myself.
Mm. 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 And somehow to be fetched is what's arriving too, because there's a surrendering. Oh, I'm not prepared. Oh, I don't, and then there's a surrendering and a handing yourself over. Just from that prayer that you said that I felt, so it's also feels like I am being fetched by the divine.
Gosh, I yeah, and I want us to pin those words because I think somehow the theme will absolutely reverberate throughout my 3 nights in the darkness. So delving directly into it, on the first night was pretty easy. I mean, I arrived in the night, had my dinner, and then had a bath and then went to sleep. It was cold, also because it had been raining. And in the night of my first night there, because it's up in Gauteng, there was massive thunder and lightning and thunder that actually at some point I could feel the earth rumble. And it was, and the fear, that I have an instinctual fear. It's not very big, but it's raw and almost primal inside of me, of lightning and thunder. And I kept thinking, thank God, I'm in a dark room, so I can't see lightning because lightning is scary. Yeah, yeah.
Did you
So
feel cocooned by the darkness?
did I
By
feel
being in the
cocooned?
cocoon?
Mm, That's interesting. I don't think so. There's something comforting about the word cocoon. I'm going to remove this incense, move it somewhere else. The smoke is quite intense. Um, I don't think so. I didn't feel it, but it's interesting that
Mm,
you are bringing that up, and maybe it was there. I just wasn't privy to it. I wasn't aware of it. And again, this is another piece of theme that you are already bringing in um, around my attunement. Um, so I yeah, went in first night, pretty uneventful, lots of rain, dreams that were non-incidental, really no urgency. The last time I went in, I had a sense of I must practice, I must meditate, I must say my rosary, I must, all of these things, all of these practices that wanted to accompany me. And this time I didn't. I was tired because I'd come straight from a day of work and actually from a week of work the week before. So I was extremely tired and I needed to rest. So I gave myself permission to sleep. So I slept quite a lot, which, as you know, for me is quite a thing. That permission to daytime sleeping is not allowed. But so I broke a rule there somewhere, and that
wow.
absolutely served me. Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
Um, and then very soon, the question, why am I here, arose. And that question is a question that perpetuated itself throughout my time in the dark. And so when it first came up, I realized that I'd spent my entire life seeking. My life had been about seeking, has been about yearning. Um, and with the seeking, there's an inevitability of waiting, because it feels like what I seek is on its way, and therefore I am waiting. And in that waiting, there's a pressing pause on my life, on my completely surrendering to life, on completely ingesting life as it comes. It almost feels, when you're at a party and you're talking to somebody, but you're not really that invested in talking to them, and you sort of keep looking over their shoulder for someone much more interesting. And I realized that I have lived most of my
mm,
life doing that to the present moment, um, expecting a more interesting moment, a more full moment to arrive so that I could engage with that. And in that way, missing the point and the gift of the present moment. Um,
mm,
yeah.
mm. Wow. Big, 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 big realization. Powerful awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and inevitably, that in itself fed the sense of something is missing, because I was making something to be missing, because the present moment, even as it showed itself to me, it presented itself to me, I couldn't accept it. So, and interestingly, one of the refrains of my life has been something is missing, something is missing. There's a longing for something, but of course something is missing. It shows up right in front of me, and I'm not paying attention. I'm looking over it to find something else.
Yeah.
Mm.
And not present with it, in it, you know, subsequently.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm,
exactly. Exactly. Um,
mm,
and I wrote here that I keep myself in a state of half hunger, waiting for something better to arrive. And then it also feels like it's a form of bypassing. If the present moment is bringing me, I don't know, something painful, then I'm not present to it. If it's bringing me something pleasurable, something beautiful, I'm not present to it. And so, um, even though in my own mind, I'm doing all of this healing work, all of this work in order to heal myself, but actually, in a way, when the moment arrives and it's bringing what I do not want, or the emotion associated with what I do not want, in looking for something else, in looking past it, then surely it's creating a sort of a bypassing so that I don't really get to be with difficult emotions. I feel it, but at the same time, I resist it. Which is it's a sort of a strange dichotomy there. I'm in it, but I'm not really in it.
Yeah, that's a funny dance, isn't it? It's yeah. And you know, I connect with it in some ways because I experience some of that, but not really. It's often like I'm telling myself a story about the thing that I'm experiencing right now. And so therefore, I'm not actually experiencing it. I'm experiencing it from the standpoint of that story of how I want it to be, how it's not showing up in the way that, in how I'm judging how it looks like. And all of this is coming up. And so I'm not actually engaging in the experience that I'm experiencing as I'm experiencing it.
Right. Yeah. I
Yeah.
relate to that too. I do that too. I've done that too countless of times. And I think that even in my looking for something else, it's almost as a what is it? That the thing itself, perhaps when it first happened, whether it's embedded within memory or within my body, that the intensity of it has become so succulent and so evocative that it's almost as if I'm looking for that. You know, it has to be recapitulated in some ways. And this present moment can never measure up. How could it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
Hmm.
And so therefore, you know, you use the words half hungry, you know, so there's a sense of never actually feeling satiated, never actually feeling full, never actually feeling complete or content with, because it's, you know, it might arrive, it's not quite it, you're looking over your shoulder, you're over the whatever's shoulder looking for it, you know. Meanwhile, it's right here, and what you're experiencing is the lack of it. And so one can never be satisfied, content.
And
Yeah,
exactly.
sure.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
suspended in that state of perpetual discontentment,
Mm,
has really been, yeah, been most of my life.
mm,
Um, yeah. And so that's the first thing that the darkness showed me. And so my prayer turned into, I see that I seek something eternal. What I seek is what is eternal. It isn't something that is fleeting. It isn't something that has a promise that it can never fulfill, but something that is always there. And then immediately I saw, actually, I'm in the darkness to seek a reconnection with God. I'm there to seek God, which is my original prayer, that I had said.
mm,
Yeah,
mm,
yeah.
mm, mm. And God perhaps is in the lackluster, in the mundane, in the undramatic, in the absence of intensity, you know, in the spaces in between, um, that you're not looking at, even as a seeker. You know, you're seeking it, but you're not present to it.
Yeah.
Because we think it's supposed to show up in a particular way. You know, God is going to descend in this epic, dramatic way. And then we'll be like, yes, there you are, God.
Yeah, in a cloud of blazing fire or something. And interestingly enough, before I went into the darkness, I did a recording for YouTube reflecting on how in the darkness, the previous darkness, one of the questions that I'd been asked was, Makgati, we see that you keep seeking outside of yourself for the answers. For whatever question you ask, you're looking outside of yourself over and over and over again. What would happen if you were to look within? And it speaks exactly to that question. Because the answer that I came up with was, God can't be inside of me. So when you're talking about the ordinary, God can't possibly, I'm not going to, speak too much about that recording. But there was something about the seeing myself as being deficient, as not being enough, as not being worthy, as not being having the capacity, not even capacity, but having the worth of God, the worthiness to hold God. And yet there I'm back in the darkness seeking God. I mean, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
The insanity, and I'm saying this with compassion, but the insanity of the spiritual seeker is one I know very well. Yeah.
Doesn't it put a whole new meaning now to Pilgrim,
It,
you
it,
know?
it started doing that a while back. And in fact, in this big fat journal I wrote here, what did I write? I wrote something like, perhaps I have damned myself by calling myself a pilgrim. Perhaps this being a pilgrim is a prison house. Something like that. What did I write? Something like that. That perhaps this seeing myself as a pilgrim, anyway, I don't know where it is. That perhaps it's the very thing that is keeping me on a loop, forever seeking and never finding.
Wow.
Never knowing where to find. And so in this particular journey, then I had the thing of, yeah, what if God doesn't find me? But then what is it? Do I even know what I'm seeking?
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mm,
Mm. Mm.
yeah. Yeah. So morning one, when I wake up, um, and and I start recognizing this merry-go-round that isn't playful or pleasurable by any means. The tears started arriving, and I think in a way it was the illumination to my own self-imprisonment. Um,
Mm.
that it's me that's keeping me there in that cave, and and in perpetually looking elsewhere for what I seek, even though I know in my head where it is that I can find what I'm seeking. And I just cry and cry, and the sense of unworthiness then
Mm.
shows up, and feeling like, so what did I write here? There's a big gaping emptiness in front of me. What if God doesn't want me? How do you choose who you reveal yourself to? What must I do so that I too can be worthy of being chosen? I am tired. I am in despair. Please show me how to find you.
Mm. Mm.
And
Mm.
this question looped itself in my entire being on day one, on night one, on day two,
Mm.
night two, and on night, throughout out was that question of what it, what is it in me that is creating this? What is it that other people have done that assists them to make their way to God, where they know for sure that they are experiencing God? What is it that they do? What is it that they've done?
Mm.
But that accompanied by a sense of, I'm not equal to finding that way.
Mm. Sort of like, why does it happen for other people and it's not happening for me?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. What was could you read the first line that that you read? Might have been the first two lines, maybe.
There's a big gaping emptiness in front of me. What if God doesn't want me? How do you
Mm.
choose who you reveal yourself to? What must
Mm.
I do so that I too can be worthy of being chosen? I am
Mm.
tired. I'm in despair, desolate. Please show me how to find you.
Mm. Can I ask you to maybe explain that sentence? How do you choose who to reveal yourself to? What do you mean by that? What did you mean by that?
There's a there's a there's been a belief inside of me, maybe not even just a belief, but a seeing how the books that I gravitate towards, literature and maybe even people, but mainly books and literature, yeah, stories of people who have had direct experience of God. So that for me, I know the Bible says that blessed are those who believe even though they haven't seen or something like that. But for me, actually, seeing is important. That I seek direct experience and not just belief. Belief yeah, it's not enough for me. And so
Mm.
that question pertains to other people's revelation and direct experience of God. What is it that
Mm.
has put them upon a platform that gives quick access to divinity? And it's a real question.
Mm.
It's I know that it comes from a sense of why is it not happening to me and with me, but it's a genuine question because I think that many of us are probably asking that or have asked that question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it resonates so deeply. I think that's partially why I was asking for clarity around it, because my my framing of that question for myself in my deepest, darkest moments in the void, when I've been in the void, is who do I need to be in order for me to know you, in God, in order for me to be met by you? Who do I need to be? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. And so what it brought me to is a question of meaninglessness, the experience of utter meaninglessness. In fact, I think that if I were to characterize my time in the darkness, it would be the sense of meaninglessness, the theme of the dark night of the soul that actually lasted. I mean, it feels more like it's been a life lived in the darkness of the soul. And so I wrote a poem here that I'm going to quickly read, not quickly, but I'm going to offer it. Really speaking of the meaninglessness. And so when I woke up on Tuesday night, so I went in on Monday night. When I woke up on Tuesday morning and I did my first entry, I didn't stop crying. I just cried most. I think this is also why I slept so much, is because I had a splitting headache from all the tears. I cried like deep, deep, deep. And so the poem that I came to was, what's the point of laughter, of smiling with a baby? What's the point of cuddling my dog, of friendship, of sisterhood and circles? What's the point of a walk in nature, of startlingly beautiful jewels of dewdrops upon blades of grass? What's the point of the changing seasons, of the intoxicating fragrance of spring flowers? What's the point of beauty, of a smile? What's the point of the smell of summer rain or baby's breath? What's the point of walking barefoot in warm, squishy mud, of dancing naked under the moon and singing and howling? What's the point of pointless children's jokes and their hysterical laughter? What's the point of a warm fire and vulnerable conversation with a beloved that gets you? What's the point of love, of loving, and the audacity of being loved back? My life has no meaning. None of this has meaning if there is no God within.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mm, mm. And so that experience of meaninglessness, and at some point I wondered if I'm suffering with some undiagnosed depression, and I'm really just padding myself through life, padding myself, not really fully being able to live life, but just go through a series of experiences. And I know that in my waking moments, I know that that's not true, but in the depth of my being, that lies at the bottom of a well as a truth that that keeps showing up in many different ways, and colors my experience of life, colors my ability to be fully in life.
Mm.
Mm.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, yeah,
Letting it move through
yes,
me. Yeah.
yes, yeah,
Sitting with it.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I go through the day in that mode. And I'm not necessarily going to share the other, because it's more or less the same theme of meaninglessness, of the, so whatness. What's the point even of my practice? What's the point of all the seeking? What's the point of even reaching out, that I'm completely invisible, that I'm not seen, that um, I'm 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 not I'm not being reached out for. And so as I go to bed on night two, something shifts in me, and I go to bed and I say, I claim joy. I said something like, I cannot go to bed feeling what I've been feeling the whole day. And so as I go to bed, I claim joy and peace. No, I claim God-centered joy. I claim God-centered love. I claim God in everything I see. I claim God in everything I do. I claim God in everything I am.
Mm.
And that's what I went to bed. Yeah, there is nothing in the world if there is no God in it.
Mm.
So if you think of the poem, I think that was an intuitive, instinctual counter offer to the poem of the meaninglessness, that actually what you are seeking is, so all of these things can be here, and perhaps if they have the flavor of God, then meaning will settle in them. And so as they arrive inside of me, they're not just a series of things, but really there are sacred moments, sacred present moments, and encounters with the world.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. I found it interesting that you said you changed it to God-centered joy, God-centered this, God-centered that. It's almost like shifting the focus to God-centered is, almost an allowing of something which is not known to you. Well, it's like, I think you said earlier about, having these, so-called ordinary or mundane moments, so it might have been joy, it might not have been joy, who knows, right? Because it's in the mundane, it's in the ordinary. And God-centered joy, God-centered peace, God-centered anything is something, inviting God into it so that you may be shown, not by your eyes, not by your ears, not by your, own sense of self, but to be filled in by God in order to experience joy.
Yes, exactly.
So, I mean, and even as I said it like that, what started to come up was you become infilled by that, like you become the vessel for God-centered joy.
Mm. Mm.
It's like you're emptied out and filled in by God's presence or God,
Right.
in order to be able to experience God-centered joy,
Yes,
God-centered.
right. Because all of these moments and all, what I flippantly call a series of events and people, um, there's an outward externalization of all of them. But in fact, then it is about locating God within, waking up to God within, that then becomes the lens through which I experience the world, so that then everything I see, everything that I am, everything that is, then it has then it has meaning.
Mm.
And then it is sacred. And yeah, it's sacred in itself, but I'm able to see the sacredness of it. So I'm not
Mm.
sacralizing anything, but I'm actually waking up to um, the divinity within everything, uh,
Mm.
simply by me being touched by that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm. So then those moments in your previous poem, like what's the meaning of these things, of a baby's breath, of all these experiences, dewdrops and all of that?
Mm.
Would it be, is what you're saying is what you're saying that because God was not in them for you, you didn't experience them as the sacred that they are. And now you are holding that something differently because you place yourself, or you place God in it. You're waking up to God within you.
I'm claiming the waking up to God within me. So
Yeah.
I'm asking for grace that
Yeah.
happens. That's what I go to bed with. It's still with that sense of emptiness, and still with, or rather, but with a what is it? You know, when you are tired and you just want to sit down.
Mm-hmm.
It's me, just like I'm done. And all I
Yeah.
have with the last piece that is available inside of me. Because I'm determined not to go to sleep with this meaninglessness. All I can do is but reach out and ask that I be brought to something else, something that doesn't counter but fills, and
Mm.
renders meaning to the meaninglessness that I was in, to the dark night that I found myself in.
Mm. Mm. I know you have more to get into, but I just kind of what want to stay with this if you don't mind for a second, because I'm remembering in the first conversation after your first, darkness retreat, I think one of the things that came up was it the darkness retreat? Maybe I'm confusing them, but there was something that you said about I am nothing, like there was an awareness or a realization or a sense of I am nothing.
Mm.
So I don't know why that popped up, and I mean I remember alluding to it in our last conversation, and it's sort of coming up now in this question or this being with the meaninglessness. And I'm wondering, how do those two connect, if at all?
Mm.
Like the I am nothing and then the sense of meaninglessness that you're present in or that you're experiencing on one of these nights, and then before you turn in a prayer to ask for this to be transmuted, transformed, into something that has and holds meaning.
Yeah. Um, I, so at the time it was offered to me, it wasn't a realization, but it was more of an offering that was given me. Um, I think as a lifeline. I don't know if I received it as a lifeline. But I think in the depth of my soul, I knew that there's something to this, that my conscious awareness just wasn't able to really partake of. And so when we put that side by side to this experience now, I I think that it could be two things about the nothingness. The first one is, there's great that there's this that we that there's a sense of emptiness. There's a there's
Mm.
there's an and it's that perhaps emptiness that propels us towards the seeking for meaning, for that which actually, And there's also the nothingness. There's a great mystery to it. There's something about a great mystery, a divine mystery to it. And so I think it reflects those two elements that sort of are coexistent. And the meaninglessness, and arriving here, I think that in some way I had to be emptied. I had to be emptied out. And even I wrote somewhere about oh, I'll read it now actually, because it's going to come up. But there's something about all my illusions showing up in my darkness retreat, in this second darkness retreat, all my illusions and delusions being pulled up and out and being reflected back to me so that I could be with them. And remember when I spoke about the present moment showing itself and me perpetually looking past its shoulder to find something more interesting. I think that all the tears that I cried, I think the last time I cried like this probably was when my mother died, in 2009. I mean, I cried. So, and it feels like everything was shown to me so that I could acknowledge it. I could give it the space that it needed. I could give it the seeing everything and not bypass it. There's no going past, there's only going through. And so even the meaninglessness, eventually arriving at the meaninglessness, was like, well, what's everything for? What's the point of anything? Really, really, what's the point? And I think it's the existentialists also that speak, there's existentialists that speak of there's great meaning and there's no meaning. And so that existential desert that I found myself in was a piece that needed to be reflected to me, to be in, not just to see, but to actually settle in, where I could question where everything needed to be questioned. I mean, this was a condensed form, because everything was questioned, everything. What's the point of being here on earth? What is this human condition about exactly? Why are we here? Like, and why do we forget? Why are we, why do we have to forget who we are? The pain of the journey that we have to walk to remembrance is intense.
Yeah.
And relentless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I so connect to that. I so connect to that. And one of the things that came to me a few days ago, and I actually, wrote down in my journal, because again, it's this thing of like, why go through all of this? Why this human experience? Why all this pain? Why all this suffering? Why all, and even just the question is about trying to find meaning in this experience that I'm in order to make it valid, I guess, to make it worth this life, worth this journey, worth being, right? And what I wrote in my journal, which just blew my mind, was around my pain. And I think what I said was, my pain, or the pain that I went through, doesn't make me special. It just makes me me,
Mm.
you know? So it's this sense that I've often had of like, you know, my pain, what I'm going through is extraordinary. Surely there must be a reason why I'm going through it. Surely there's a reason for all of these experiences. Let me try and find it. Let me, this healing, let me heal it so that I can figure out why I'm, why I've had this happen to me, why I think like this, why I have the relationships, why this heartbreak, why, and that search for meaning, in it, as though I am set apart from anyone else or everyone else, and then coming to this realization or awareness that maybe of the meaninglessness of it, and then sitting with that and being with that, and like, okay, it just actually happens to make me who I am. Not that I'm special, not that I'm extraordinary, not that I'm set apart. Perhaps there is no meaning. It just is.
Just is. Yeah,
Yeah.
it just is. Mm. Yeah, yeah. And to arrive at that is sure. It feels like a gift offered by grace somehow. That yeah, put down, call off the search.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
live life, call off the search, and be present to this moment that is here. Hmm. Hmm. Thank you for offering that.
Mm.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Whoo! Night 2, dream. Um,
Sorry, I have to say, there's been this rainbow blob that has been, on your face, on
ah,
the side of your face at different points. It's just been so beautiful to watch. And every time you talk about meaninglessness and the void, there's this lovely rainbow blob that is just shifting, going on your face like the whole time.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's the profane and the mundane, the sacred and the ordinary all in one.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's my thing there.
I too.
It's
Oh,
my
okay.
disco ball over there
Mm.
that's catching the light.
Mm.
So dream. So in this one, I just wasn't dreaming anything. Yeah. Except on night 2, I have a dream of fire. I dream that I think I'm in Hebron. Now, Hebron is my mother's home. And the first couple of years, I lived my life there. So it's out in the country, and and so I'm in the yard, and just on the other side of the yard, there are people that are trying to start a fire in our yard. So they're throwing these fireballs. I don't know what the fireballs are made of, but they're throwing these fireballs into our yard. And when I see that, I alert people around me, and we all run around and we put out the fires. Next thing, I'm standing in front of a scenery of a field, and one part of the field is fenced off. And in the fenced off bit, there is a man or men, I can't remember if there's more than one man, and there are lions there. And one of the lions, I can't remember if it's more than one, but definitely one of the lions is on a lead, is on a leash, it's tethered. And the man is sort of like holding because what the lion is doing, it's at the fence and it's roaring at what is beyond the fence. And what is beyond the fence? Turns out that the people starting the fire, some young men, they were shepherds. And so they, or I think that they were shepherds, and they have some lambs with them. And they have brought their lambs to feed. They've brought them to pasture on the field. It's our land that they were trying to start a fire on, and now they're coming to feed on that. They've brought their lambs to feed on that land, and the lambs are just, nonchalantly eating the grass. And on the other side, so there is that lion, and there's a couple of other lions, and there are sheep also on in that same field. And they're all just there together. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, that's interesting. All the lambs and the lions and the man, that's very, and the dream shifts to a third scene. And the third scene is I'm looking at my house. My house it's not this house that I live in now, but it's a house that is the first in its row of houses. And in front of it, there's an empty sort of not forest, but sort of some bushy area. And when I look, I see that there are remains of a plane. There's been an airplane crash, and there's some airplane debris, bits and pieces of the aeroplane that are on the ground. And as I'm looking, I see some military men arrive in one of their jeeps, and they park the car to come and collect the debris. And then I wake up. Interesting dreams, interesting symbolism in that dream.
Yeah.
Mm.
Wow.
I haven't thought too much.
I was gonna ask.
When I told it to JJ, the owner of the Darkness Retreat Center, she said, "Huh, okay. So the lions and the lamb, and there's a line apparently in the Bible that says, and the lions and the lamb shall lie together." And then she in paradise. But then she says it's not quite paradise because the lion is on a lead. It's tethered. So, but that's interesting. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. So later on, the following day in my meditation, what arrived was my mind is like a wild animal. It's like the lion. And it is, and occasionally I need to grab a hold of it and remind it that it is me. I can look at what it's doing, but actually, ultimately, it follows me. I do not follow it. And I think that's the indication, that's the piece about being tethered and on a lead. But the fire, all of that and the debris, all of that is very interesting. I haven't thought too much about it, and I'm going to still consider meanings of that.
It's interesting that it's on your at your mother's home.
Yes,
So
it is.
something about the land upon which the whole thing takes place, and that it's your mom's home. Yeah.
And the youth of the masculine that I think is trying to start a fire. And then I remember that it's women that were putting out the fire. I don't, but then it's also a man that is holding back the male lions. So definitely there's an interplay between amongst the youthful masculine that is yet to rise up into maybe the protector self. Maybe that's hence the military. And I'm thinking now the fire that was being started by the young men and the aeroplane debris. Yeah, there's something about danger, averted danger. Because my house wasn't damaged in any way. Just the debris was on the lawn, and the men came to pick it up. So there's something around that. There's definitely something about the map. And yeah, so I'm going to have a conversation with my inner masculine and my feminine, and see what are they saying to one another and with one another. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna offer the last piece. And I have to say that even when I wake up on Wednesday, so I'm leaving on Thursday. So when I wake up on Wednesday, it's the same thing. Same feeling, same, what is this all about? And in the middle of my asking the question, what is it all about? And I'm in the depth of my tears. I keep rotating back. I keep going back. And in the middle of my tears, I suddenly get a sense of, Makgati, you so much believe, and this is a little bit of an echo of what you were journaling, but not really. But there was a sense of, Makgati, you believe that you are all alone in this pain. You believe that this pain is so profound, and you are somehow, there's a sense of your aloneness. But what if you knew that there are many others who are also holding this similar torment, who are seeking and who are feeling not found, who are also circling the same meaningless sense of meaninglessness? What would happen if you were to transport yourself to other souls who are in a similar position and you could accompany one another in your pain, and at least know that you do not stand alone, and let them know that they do not stand alone, that you can be together in this. And perhaps that can offer some relief to the depth of the pain that you are feeling. And that changed, that completely just, so, so yeah, it moved me from being, and I want to say captivated and transfixed by the depth of my own pain. And it just opened something up inside of me that said, there is life somewhere else. Somebody else is having this experience. And it may look different to your experience. Therefore, when you show up, what was written here? I am here to accompany, to hold witness with those who are lost in life, bumping against illusions and delusions, constantly seeking, trying to find their way through distractions and numbing the pain of not being found. I see you. I am here with you. We are here together. I hear your cries. I see you on the floor. I am you. We know that the way is not of this earth. It is through this earth, and we shall find it. Those that have done this before will arrive. They surely, in fact, are here waiting for us to see. I am with you. I see you. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. You know, and when this came up, and even in the desolation, I started understanding how all atrocities that we commit, that us humankind commit, for me, I could trace it. I had a sense that we could, if we were to trace, we could possibly trace all of this to a sense of meaninglessness, to a sense of I'm not being found. One way or another, there is something in us that that can be created out of this 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 parched land of meaninglessness. And
Mm.
and it made me see that, oh gosh, it's pointless to judge. Oh, which reminds me. So in the dream, not in the dream, in the night, on my night 3, one of the dreams that I had, gosh,
Wednesday night.
Wednesday night, Wednesday night. When I go to sleep, actually I had a succession of dreams. But the first dream was I am brought to some kind of a of making of making some kind of judgment between two things. And I can't remember what they are. But and I'm like, oh, I choose something looks like this is the obvious choice. And I'm about to proclaim it as such. And of course, I would choose this morally correct. And then as I'm about to choose in my sleep, I realized, no, actually, I don't know. I don't know what came before. I don't know. And I know that this isn't what is beneficial. So I said, actually, I choose the middle path. I choose the middle way. I choose what is in the middle of these two factions, these two factioning ideas. And as I said that, so there's me in the center, and the right comes and the left comes and they form a cross.
Wow.
Sure. And then, of course, I continue with my sleep. And and um and the next dream that arrives, this is my final night here, my night 3. My next dream is convoluted. It's filled with many episodes. But the episode that I want to refer to is my mother is there. My mother shows up. And as you know, my mother has been dead since 2009. My mother shows up, and and there's a braai. There's a braai that's going to be held somewhere. And I say, Sarah is there. And I say to Sarah, Sarah, no, let's not have a braai yet. Let's not have a braai with those people. There's some actors. I mean, the scenes, the images is just interesting. The actors are rehearsing a play, and there's going to be a braai with the actors after the rehearsal. So I say to Sarah, let's not have a braai with them. Let's rather have a braai with Mama, because Mama is here just for a short period while I'm awake, something like that. And Sarah agrees. So the braai is had, and at the end of the braai, we are packing things away. And as we are packing things away, I see somebody that is very familiar to me walking by, not helping. And I sort of in Sesotho we say, I sort of like become flippant with them. And I say, we're packing up, And as I say,
Yeah.
we're packing up, and they just walk past me like they haven't heard me. And as I say that, I'm holding my phone in my hand. My phone gets slapped out of my hand. And as it gets slapped out of my hand, it falls all the way. There's like a cliff, and at the bottom of the cliff there is a body of water, some kind of a pool, and it falls into the lake or something. And I go, "Oh," and then I realized, oh, it's because I was being flippant, and I've had this conversation about judgment. So in the dream, I immediately recognized that, oh, okay, instant
Yeah.
karma, as people would say.
Yeah.
And so I go, "Oh, shit, now I've got to go fetch the phone." So I quickly go down, and I don't quickly go down. It's a flipping cliff with red soil all around. But when I'm about to go down, I see that the descent is facilitated by, a pool. Many pools have the pool stairs that can be put in. There's something that looks like that along the face of the cliff. So I gingerly make my way down, and I get down, and it's a long way down, but I get there quickly. And I start moving towards to go and retrieve my phone out of the body of water. And when I get there, I'm having a debate with myself. Should I take my clothes off? Should I dive into the pool? Should I walk into that water? Should I? And I see there's a woman in the pool, and she's swimming. And she says to me, "Oh, when I came earlier, I found your phone. I've taken it out already. It's over there. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It's got everything on it." As she's talking to me, I'm looking into the pool. I see at the bottom of the pool, mind you, she's been swimming, and I see that it's actually a natural pool. So it's got sediment at the bottom. It's got soil at the bottom. I see at the bottom there that there is a silver coin at the bottom, like an American quarter type of. I see, and the reference to American is, yeah, it's something. But I see that there's something there. I see it, and as I see it, and I'm thinking somebody's gonna claim it. Somebody's gonna, because there's another woman who's taking swimming lessons in the water, and she doesn't. So nobody actually pays attention to it, to that silver coin. So I lay my body down, and I actually just reach down, and I'm able to fetch it without having to get into the water. So I retrieve the silver coin, and I look at it, and when I look at it, it has the word truth written on it. And I go, huh, that's interesting. But because already I had made some association with America, I'm like, ah, you know, typical of Americans to take such a massive concept like truth, not even a concept, a truth, and put it on a coin. And I get slapped again by recognition,
Yeah.
because then I say, oh, but I can't cast aspersions, because even we have something called Truth Cafe, so we can all do that with all of these, with these truths, with these philosophies. Not really philosophy, but a way of being. And as I'm holding that in my fingers, and I'm looking at this coin, I wake up. Now, this is the last thing I'm going to share. And as I wake up, I think it's early, early morning. So I'm lying back, yeah? And I'm holding the truth coin in my fingers. And I'm lying in bed, and I open my eyes. And this is the first scene that I've seen. This is the first vision. I haven't had vision so far. When I open my eyes, I see there's a wall, like in an A frame. On the one side, it's bricked, and on the other side, it's plastered, so it's white. And on the wall, there's a reflection of of when you look at leaves that are dancing in the water, and I'm just seeing just leaves dancing in the water, and I'm looking at this, and I I burst into tears, and I start laughing at the same time, because it is the most simple. I am told, Makgati, it is so simple. It is. It has always been simple. It is. It is the simplest, most gentlest, and I think, and it could be anything. It could be divinity. It could be. And I just cried and cried and cried, and I just lay there, really imbibing this, the simplicity, the simple. I cannot tell you. I can't convey the simplicity of it. That was just everything. It just permeated my entire being. And I was just looking at this saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So, and the similarity of it was me in prison. It was like the fire was behind me and the dancing image of the people. But this time, the light was there and it was reflecting, just dancing, just.
Mm.
And I
Wow.
got out of bed and I got on my knees, literally got on my knees. And I said a prayer in gratitude. And that's the end.
Wow. Wow. Truth, hey? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. And that's it. Of course, a lot more has been arriving since then. But I'm aware that we need to finish the video, the recording. So, yeah, more shall be shared.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much richness and breath and movement that's happening within me from this. And yeah,
Mm.
thank you. I don't have words, even though there's so much to say, so much to express, so much to um, emote, I guess. But really, there's just a sense of, yeah, breath is the best word. Like there's just such a largeness and a larger than lifeness of what just feels really deep, what feels really meaningful, to come back to that, and breathtaking,
Mm.
breathtaking. Yeah. And somehow for you to be the vessel, like I said that in the beginning, for you to be the vessel of um, the truth of your experience, I think that's also part of what I'm feeling, what this energy is.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm. And and of course, what I mean, what's arriving for me is is that the witnessing is an important component of it. And so we hold with one another. And and so it's a thing of yeah, the truth of my experience is that. And yeah, I don't know what else to say, but thank you.
Mm.
Mm, mm. And
You.
it's continuing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
May I propose a follow-up to
Yes.
this? Because I'm sure as things are still processing, still moving, still churning within you, that there's more dropping. I know even for myself, like so much has been seeded in this conversation, and I would appreciate um, an opportunity for us to be with this in another conversation in terms of what's still brewing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Um, we will definitely, I will definitely set up a time so that we can delve deeper. There's lots to be delved into. Yeah. Thank you, Thato.
Thank you.
Gosh.
Thank you so much.
And deep gratitude to you, the viewer, who is more than a viewer, but you offer accompaniment in ways that you may not realize. And so I offer my gratitude to you too. And thank you for your comments. Thank you for staying with it. Thank you for coming along and accompanying me on this journey, for accompanying us. Um, because it's definitely, we are here together, Thato. And have a peaceful journey, an easeful journey. So when I was lying there in bed and I was being reminded of row your boat gently down the stream, no need for intensity. And the biggest thing, the last thing that I want to say is there's no need for intensity. And I have been the intensity person. No need. Just the gentleness. Lie back. Allow. Receive.
Simplicity.
Mm, yeah. If you find this recording valuable, please do share it with others. If you like it, you can like it on the button below, and we shall see you in the next one. Thank you. Blessings and Galerato. Bye.